Okay.
I'd like to call the January meeting of the Southern Wayne Sanitary District to order. First item we need to tend to, now we have a school board now, is the election of officers. So, Mr. Edwards, I'm gonna turn it over to you and let you can look at part of the meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody here. Let Mr. Edwards take care of the election of officers. Before we get started with that, I got something I'd like to say. My wife has sold her fence company and I'm gonna be retiring, so I want to remove my name for any seat that's available on the officer board. And not be considered for any seat. I won't be able to travel and do what I want to do. So. Go ahead, Mr.
Okay. What we will do is begin with the election of the chairman. By law, you're required to have at least a chairman and secretary. So we will start with the office of chairman and go from there. So at this time, I'll open the floor for nominations for the office of chairman.
Just to clarify, what does that mean? We can't be anything on the board, but still be on the board?
I don't understand what you're saying.
So Gary doesn't want to be, Gary, what does that mean? What are you saying?
I don't want to have a seat like chairman or vice chairman or secretary or finance officer, something that I've got to be here every week signing checks and the things. I won't be able to go and come.
Like you won't be able to not come to the meetings?
No, I'll attend the meeting. I mean, you know, you've been here 2 years and you've not had a seat other than assistant secretary or assistant something.
Okay, I'm following now. I get what you're saying.
Okay, then the floor is open for nominations for the position of chairman.
I nominate Matt for chairman.
Okay, Matthew McLeod's been nominated. Any other nominations? Not hearing any other nominations, I would ask if there's a motion to close nominations and elect Matthew McLeod as chairman.
I'll make a motion.
Second. For second. Okay, all those in favor of that motion, let the nominee raise your right hand. Any opposed, likewise, the motion is carried. And Matthew McLeod is now elected the chairman. At this point, and it's been done both ways, I can either turn the meeting over to you and you can handle the election if you like.
I'll let you continue to serve. Thank you.
We will now open the floor for nominations for vice chairman.
I'll nominate Justin.
Justin Williams has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? If not, is there a motion that we close nominations and elect Justin Williams as the vice chairman?
I make the motion as well.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of that motion, let it be known by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Seeing none, Justin Williams is elected as vice chairman. Now we move to the position of secretary. Any nominations?
What is the secretary have to do?
Well, I mean, normally the secretary is responsible for the minutes, and the procedure that's been followed in the past is that the attorney has been asked to do the minutes or draft them up, and then the board reviews them and the secretary signs them. And of course, the secretary, if there are any documents that have to be signed sometimes things come from the state that have to be signed by the chairman and secretary, that type of thing.
Make a motion, Scott, be secretary.
Okay, Danny is nominated Scott Ingram. And then you have nominations for the position of secretary. Okay, seeing or hearing none, is there a motion that we close nominations and elect Scott Ingram as secretary?
Make a motion.
I'll second the motion. Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed likewise, seeing none, Scott Ingram is elected as secretary. Now, the next position, which the board has been generally doing that, and let me just make a comment on this. I'm going to refer to the position of finance officer. Finance officer does not necessarily have to be a board member. For instance, as an example, Fort Township has always had an accountant as elected as their finance officer who does the financial reports and that type of thing. I just point that out to say that that is not necessarily a position that goes along with board membership. So, and if that position is be elected, we're going to open the floor for election for the position of finance officer.
I'd rather we handle it than pay someone else to do it. I'd rather we handle that here than I would pay someone else to do it. So y'all feel?
I agree.
Absolutely. That's the way we've been doing.
Are there any nominations?
Can Matt do that? I mean, can he hold two titles? But no one can hold two titles.
I don't believe that would be a position that you want someone, because the finance officer really, as a separate individual, has to be bonded. They have to sign the checks along with someone else. Regardless of the finance officer's signature is supposed to be on all the checks. And if you require, as the board has in the past, a double signature, then most of the time the chairman is one of those that is significantly signing the checks. So
You're gonna need two people to help put the budget together too.
I think it'd be easier for Matt because he lives right down the road and he doesn't have to.
I can't, if I'm already signed check, so it's not be somebody else. Too. I nominate Thomas.
Okay, Thomas Gaines is nominated for the position of finance officer. Are there any other nominations? Not, do I hear a motion that the nominations be closed and that Thomas Gaines be elected to the position of finance officer?
Make a motion.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor of the motion of closing nominations and electing Thomas Gaines as finance officer, let it be known by raising your right hand. Okay, any opposed? So Thomas Gaines is elected as finance officer. Only other position that the board has at times nominated in the past is the position of assistant secretary. And I'm trying to remember, don't we currently have an assistant finance officer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I thought so. Some of the boards
That's more important than the secretary because you need 3 people that's eligible to sign checks. And then if finance officer, something happens, you still have somebody in place to take care of the finances.
And most of, I know the other districts have an assistant finance officer for that purpose. If something happens that the finance officer cannot be available to sign a check, then that assistant finance officer could take that responsibility.
But who's our assistant? Oh, we don't have an assistant.
Not yet.
Yeah, you do have.
Who's our assistant?
I was the assistant finance,
Oh, you
but you
were.
hadn't voted in the last meeting.
Okay, so we need a new.
So my opinion
You were
is,
vice chairman and assistant finance officer in the past.
But if Matt can't be there.
we need the clerk, we need an assistant finance officer. I don't, in my opinion, we don't need an assistant secretary.
And you're right, that's not a necessary.
So I say we open up the floor for,
Okay, well, then we'll open the floor up for nominations for assistant finance officer.
Nominate Justin.
Any other nominations? Not a motion to close nominations and elect Justin Williams as the assistant finance officer is in order.
So moved.
Okay, second,
second, or Scott second.
Yes.
all those in favor of the motion, let me know by raising your right hand. Opposed, and I see no opposition. So the the election then is that Justin Williams will serve as assistant finance officer. And if you're not going to elect an assistant secretary, then that will conclude the election. I'll turn the floor back over to Matthew.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jack. All right. The first item of business is the approval, or discussion of the November and December minutes. You should have those in front of you. We'll start with November. I was not here at the last meeting. Obviously, they were not approved. I believe there was some discussion to have been modified. Is there any discussion or a motion to approve the minutes from November?
That looked fine, from what I can remember. Can't remember what the whole thing was.
Further discussion on the November minutes?
There's a motion and second on that.
There's no motion. I was asking for discussion first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't see.
Anyone else?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. I second that.
Motion by Justin and a second by Scott. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? The November minutes have been approved. Going to the December minutes. For discussion.
There's definitely some things in here that I want to talk about tonight that will kind of decide whether or not we accepted these minutes. I would make a motion, we wait until the next meeting after a lot of these things have been discussed.
And it notes that
When you go and discuss,
there are the things that are wrong or need to be adjusted based on the meeting from December.
Yeah, so with the whole COVID thing, I had some people look over it and they said that, based on what they know from what that report says, at the very least, it was how do they say it? It was, it should have had attention on it and it didn't. But I'm not okay with just writing it off as if it was a mistake, because I still feel like that was done intentionally. But that's something, like I said, I'd like to address later on in the meeting before I said that this is okay.
Do you have any recommended changes at the moment?
Yeah, I do. So the part where I asked you if you said, Mr. Jack, when I asked you if you told Billy Brock that I threatened someone and you said no, and then I went to you and I asked you to leave him a voicemail if he didn't answer. And here you say that I called a number, but I called Billy Brock. So I like to say I called Billy Brock.
I don't have no clue who you called.
I can replay it because when the voicemail picks up, it repeats the phone number.
It's fine with me. I mean, it's the board's minutes, whatever.
I mean, if you're doubting I called Billy Brock, I don't have a problem replaying the phone number. So, you know.
So then it's fine with me.
Okay.
Whatever you want in there. It's up to this board. It's their minutes.
You have to make a motion for what you want to say.
I make a motion that it say that I called Billy Brock.
There's a motion on the floor by Thomas to amend the fourth paragraph from the bottom on page 2 to note that he called Billy Brock. Is there a second? All in favor? So second by Justin, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? It carries. I'd like to note that on the first page, the fourth paragraph down where it notes that Mr. Gainey stated that he and Justin Williams had copies of the videos from the meetings in 2021 that they have the copy. I do not have copies of those videos. They have been deleted. I don't know if that necessarily needs to change in the minutes, but I just want to make sure that noted. Is there any other discussion about the December minutes?
When we talk about Sally being removed, what paragraph is that? Because I would like to, I mean, not explicitly spell out the words she used, but reference in a way that we know what exactly she said.
Second page, second paragraph.
Okay, and instead of ultimately asked to leave, she was escorted out by the deputy. I would like that in the minutes, that she wasn't asked to leave as much as she had to be removed.
Their motion.
I make a motion that it says she had to be removed by deputy.
There's second.
One second.
All in favor? Aye.
Um,
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Was the previous correction, would somebody second that motion?
Any other discussion on the December minutes?
Does it have everybody that actually spoke, that went to the podium and spoke? In the minutes? Like I know Mr. Freddie spoke, Ms. Karen spoke, Lee spoke, Sydney spoke. I like that in the minutes that these individuals gave us their time and spoke.
So people speaking all over the place.
I said the ones that went to the podium and spoke.
I don't have a list of that.
Well, I've got it in the video, so once again, I'd like to wait until the next meeting when we can say this person spoke and said this.
The references, I made a reference in there to the video. For purposes of clarification on the minutes.
Yeah, but if somebody came and got a copy, they wouldn't know anything about it, or they'd have to get
Well,
a
they
video.
get the video, that'd be the whole purpose. Not putting everything that everybody said.
Yeah, but a lot of what they said was extremely relevant to the meeting.
That's, again, it's not my minutes, it's the board's minutes.
I make a motion that everyone who spoke at the podium, not just commented, but actually had an issue to speak on, that be noted in the minutes.
Motion from Thomas. Do I hear a second? Second by Justin. All in favor? Aye.
Discussion. Why don't you just reference the video, like Mr. Edmund was saying, reference the video, if somebody wants to know who all spoke, and what they said, they can pick up a copy of the video and take it with them.
I don't,
Then they can
because
see the whole thing.
the reason I don't want to do that is because it's really easy to just pass around the minutes and then you don't see the whole picture of everything that happened. And
If
that
they have the video, they can see the whole picture of everything that happened.
if was the key word in that sentence, if.
But if they pick up a copy of the video, they have it to take home with them.
If it's not a big deal, I don't see why we can't just add it to the minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, it just take up a lot of space and a lot of time when all they have to do is request a copy of the video.
If they knew it exists, if they saw that, but it's,
But it,
once again, easy to just show them a piece of paper. Summarize what the person said.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
no,
Scott, did you vote?
I mean, it doesn't matter to me either way. Like, if you guys want to put it in there, that's fine. I mean, it's reference to the video. If you want to put it in there and spell out, that's okay with me too.
Thank you. So, motion carries. Any further discussion on the December minutes? We'll wait they will not be approved at this time. We'll wait until the February meeting to review the amended minutes. Okay, moving on to the next item of business tonight, the recognition of our visitors who are on the agenda. We have Lee Thompson and Buddy Scott on the agenda. So Lee Thompson, start with you. All right. Step to the podium. Thank you.
Man, I'm sorry. Mr. Davis. Were you able to find out, answer my question as to how to remove Mr. Scott from this board?
I mean, is he going to, I'm not quite sure. The meetings I've been to have never been like this. I'm bringing information to the board. If the board wants that information, which I've got him.
They made a motion and passed it.
Yeah, I've got the information. I'm just asking.
Okay, I'm asking you for it.
If the board, well, I'm not responding to you. I'm responding to the board that I represent. That's what I tried to tell people last time. I've never been in a meeting where the public sits out and asks questions of everybody on the staff and everything else. They're supposed to be addressing the board, but if the board asks me to answer that at this point, I will address it.
Why don't you answer?
I mean, if that's the consensus of the whole board,
I'll make a motion. Mr. Lee's question.
you don't have to make a motion as long as it's consensus of the board. If everybody says yes, that's fine with me.
it's
I'm going to
fine.
give you the report. It's
It's
my
fine.
report.
It's fine, Mr. Egan.
Okay, under North Carolina General Statute 130A-66 is entitled removal of a board member, and that section is under the section of the statute that deals with sanitary district members. And it provides that a petition with the signatures of 25% or more of the voters within a sanitary district which requests the removal from office of one or more members of a sanitary district board for malfeasance or nonfeasance in office may be filed with the Board of Commissioners of the county in which all or greater portion of the voters of a sanitary district are located. Upon receipt of the petition, the County Board of Commissioners shall meet and adopt a resolution to hold an election on the question of removal. In the event that more than one member of a sanitary district board is subjected to recall in an election, the names of each member of the board subjected to recall shall appear upon separate ballots. If in a recall election, a majority of the votes within the sanitary district are cast for the removal of a member or members of the sanitary district board subject to recall, the member or members shall cease to be a member or members of the sanitary district board. A vacancy shall immediately be filled. The expenses of holding a recall election shall be paid from the funds of the sanitary district.
So 25% of the vote.
25% of the voters.
So is it 25% of the people who actually voted or 25% of the
Of the
voting population?
voters in the district.
25% of the voters,
Of the
in the district,
voters, the registered voters in the sanitary district itself.
whether they voted in that election or not.
No, it doesn't matter whether they vote in the election, it's the voters in the district.
What was the rest of the criteria?
I didn't understand.
What was the rest of the criteria? 25%.
It's 25% requesting their removal for malfeasance or nonfeasance. And it has to be a petition signed by that many people.
Is that it?
But then that petition is presented to the commissioners.
Okay. So just 25%.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Okay, Buddy Scott.
The chairman, Gary, is my brother. And I promise you, he's not doing anything that y'all are trying to hang him with on this witch hunt to somebody's own. You're asking questions from the wrong people. You need to find out who deleted the video from August and September and why they deleted it. I'll stand behind my brother anytime, anywhere. And I don't know why it's such a witch hunt against his character.
Why do you think the videos have been deleted?
Somebody just said they were deleted.
No, I've got them right here. I played them at the last meeting. So once again, why do you think they're deleted?
Because I thought he said they were deleted.
I said I didn't have a copy any longer. There was no need for me to have a copy. I wasn't on the board at that time.
But we also played that video at the last meeting. So
An edited version?
an unedited version?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. The conversation flows the entire meeting.
Will you provide the rest of us a copy of it?
I'll tell you what I'll do. No, because the next time you see it, it'll be in court. But I will tell you this, at the end of the
Are
meeting.
you threatening me?
No, I'm not. How is that a threat to take them to court?
Well, go ahead.
No. You've already said one time I threatened you.
Well, it sounds like you did just then, talking about taking me to court.
No, I'm not gonna give you evidence. You had your brother stand up and vouch for your character.
I've not asked my brother to be here.
Okay. But you just accused me of making a threat.
I asked you, were you making a threat? I didn't accuse you of anything. I said, are you threatening me?
I don't think telling someone the next time you'll see a video in court is a threat. I don't even know why you would say that.
Move on, then, Thomas, move on.
Okay, but in the video, your brother at the last meeting said that I stood up and paced back and forth. So one reason I won't turn the video over to him is you can see my foot in the video. And then in the last 2 minutes of the video, Sally says, you're just gonna sit there and do nothing. Now, if I'd been pacing back and forth, she wouldn't have said that. So it's not a witch hunt, as you say. And if you'd like, I'll play the end of that video so you can hear it. But when you say that he didn't do anything wrong or this is a witch hunt, I can prove otherwise. Is that all?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Hatch, you,
I was talking better.
Okay. Thank you, Lee and Buddy, for coming tonight, as well as I didn't acknowledge everyone else. Thank you for being here as well. We'll now move to the operations report. Thomas?
And guys, you'll have to forgive me, we had a customer who had a leak right before this meeting started, and she has about 20 cats outside today, and it's seriously bothering my sinuses. But anyhow, I want to start off with a question. Our soft starts, who installed them? Was it Gopher Utilities? Anybody? I want to say it was. Most of their products that they install, they normally slap a nice little label with their name and company and address and whatnot on it. But anyhow, the one at the fairgrounds, it appears that someone needs to take a look at it. It's when it turns on, it's jarring around the horn as if the soft start's not even functioning at all. 578 Old Grantham Road appears to have a leak. We've done exploratory digging twice at the main in an effort to locate said leak, and nothing was ever found. The meter has shown reverse flow for the past 2 to 3 months, and I believe we need to install a new setter, one that has a dual check valve on it. This will work in twofold. We'll either prevent any possible reverse flow, or once we begin to dig near the meter, the leak may reveal itself. Pearson pump arrived today to fix the leak that was just beyond the 90-degree elbow and above the wellhead at well number 10. That's right on site at Durham Lake. And they successfully fixed it. Gopher arrived today to further test certain programming aspects of SCADA. The control side of SCADA is still overriding our physical HOA switches located at each plant, which is not what we want. I pretty much, upon looking at the minutes, answered my next question. Well number 6 is back up and ready to be put into operation. I was instructed not to make any changes until final verdict was given on moving forward, who was going to be what. Bacteriologicals came back positive. A single bacteria came back positive at 7008 Summit Drive. That's Jimmy Jones's house. After further testing, this proved to be a false positive. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar. When we do that testing, when one comes back positive, you get an upstream, a downstream, a repeat, and one at each of your raw wells. So everything cleared. And I may be stepping into your realm on this, but the pressure test and bacteriological sample has been sent off for the Grand Oaks expansion project. You have to forgive me. After speaking with Chris DeBerry and Gabrielle, I hate butchering her name, Shianese, I've been given access to the 2 reporting facilities that was currently not already submitted for Sutherland Sanitary District. And according to these reports, the last submitted was for water withdrawal was done in October of 2021, and the last water level pumping report was submitted back in June. So we are already delinquent before Cliff stepped down, resigned, or however it needs to be phrased. But other than that, I have nothing to.
Okay, so back on the SCADA system, you said they were on site today.
Correct.
Looking at that, do they have a timeline to have that resolved, or
It's fixed.
they're fixed it?
Correct.
So everything
It was a
is in
program
operation? Okay. And well sits, you said it's ready to go in operation?
Yes, sir. That's next to water treatment plant number 2, well number 6. It's ready to go.
You just need the okay from us to push forward.
Correct.
Okay.
But if I may say this, I was told that during this grace period or 30-day period or whatever that we are currently functioning under my license, I would like verification on that.
Mr. Jack, can you get verification?
You're responsible. Your license are responsible. You're not.
Well, it's just when Gerald was here and then he stepped down, I did not have the credentials to operate this place. So that kind of leads me to think, I don't really know if that's the case or not.
Nothing's changed in your licensing since then, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
No, sir, I've collected big well since then.
That's not a question I can answer.
Okay.
The state's gonna have to answer that.
Okay, I was curious if anybody in the room could speak to it.
I can't, but I'll look into it.
Excellent.
Or I will help you look into it.
And the person that told me that, yes, they got my best interest in mind, but it just, I'm not gonna do anything that's gonna put my license in jeopardy, but the place where it was founded from was kind of awkward.
Is there a reason to bring well sits on at this time, or is it okay to wait?
Wait,
until we
absolutely, you
figure
want
this
all
out?
your plants functioning, that way it lessens the burden of all the other ones. You don't have chemicals sitting over there going to the bad. It's like a car. They say the worst thing you can do to a car is never crank it. It's much like anything mechanical.
Does anyone have any reason for us not to bring well sits back online?
Just need to be careful with the purple.
Potassium permanganate. I'm aware it's I would like to the first couple of weeks of it coming online. I only run it when I'm here and I can have my finger on the pulse, so to speak. And then that way, I mean, ultimately the goal is get Green Sand Plus over there. That way we don't need that oxidizer anymore, and we will never have that issue again. Is ultimately the goal.
I think unless anyone thinks otherwise, we should go ahead and bring it online with your plans you mentioned. Only run it when you're able to keep an eye on it, babysit it.
Okay.
The hard starts at the fair.
Correct.
What do we need to do?
Need to find out who installed it for us. I don't know if it was JL Brid or Gopher or whomever, and yeah, have them come out and look at it. The settings may have changed during a fault. Like I say, with that being, I mean, that building was recently renovated less than 2 years ago. There's a good chance that we may still have some kind of warranty. These are all things we would need to explore, but I just wanted to bring y'all's attention.
Is that
Is it a
something?
soft, is it a soft start or a VFD?
No, there is no VFD there. We only have VFDs at 6 and 9 and 10. And the fairgrounds is number 5.
Do you need something from us to get started on that, or you just making?
No. Just wanted to make y'all aware. See, I wanted to see if anybody did know what company installed it. I can explore that.
I
That's fine.
don't even know when it was installed.
Like I said, that everything got renovated in that building except the 4 walls, is my understanding. So right here recently, like I say, a couple phone calls, I'll be able to get in front of the right person.
Okay. Did you address the leak?
No.
Oh, the leak, what do we need to do about it?
Like I say, I would like, with y'all's permission, whomever we go forward with contracting wise, whether it's Cox and Edwards, King, whomever, let's have that work done. Let's fix that issue, because I want y'all to all, when y'all ride by here, it's at 578, it's there on the corner. There's a church and that center block building. There, water always sits around that meter and then kind of where the ditch is. And you know how water flows in that ditch anyways, but water's just constantly sitting there. And like I said, we go to it, we do a total chlorine pillar on it. It shows positive as if it's treated water, but when we dig down to it, for whatever reason, we just cannot find the leak. Now, in hindsight, we probably should have followed the service line back up to the meter and seen what else we could have found, but that was just more money, more time. I mean, it was kind of a judgment.
By the fire station when you turn.
Yes, sir. Yeah, right there on the left,
There's a history on that.
578. Photograph.
If I'm not mistaken, Thomas, there's a history of already digging that at one time.
We've been there twice. That's correct. And like I say, we dug it in main. I'm suggesting this time we'll get to the meter, but there's asphalt around it.
So you would need, like you said, Cox or King or someone to do that.
One of our contractors, yes.
We can't tell how much water, if it is leaking, that we're losing there, can we?
Well, it can, but like I say, it's, okay, here's what I really think is going on. Without it having that dual check, the pressure will feel until it meets its demand inside of that home. Once it stops, I think the leak is beyond the meter, so therefore it's slowly matriculating back through it. Once the pressure overrides the demand again, it'll fill back up, and then it's sitting there doing this number is what I think is going on. But,
But not necessarily a huge leak,
sir,
not necessarily a.
oh no, if you were to sever a 3/4 inch line, it really, in comparison of the grand whole scheme, you can sit there and let it run all day, because it may do 2-3 gallons a minute. There's 1,440 minutes in a day. I mean, our SCADA wouldn't really pick it up.
Right.
I mean, it would have to be something, a much bigger size service.
Okay.
Well, speaking of leaks, that brings me also to at the back of Deer Acres. Apparently, a tractor trailer truck went down there, got in a bad spot, couldn't really turn around without running over one of our 2-inch blow offs. I had Cox and Edwards repair that and replace it. So.
Well, on the leak, I say move forward with a contractor,
Okay,
find out.
is there anyone in particular you can I continue with Cox and Edwards until they're just, I mean, you pick up the phone, they're going to come.
I'd say so, yes. Unless anybody has any further reason not to.
Let's move forward with this particular job. I mean, you know, we can talk about that later on,
Okay.
but yeah, definitely move forward.
All right. Will do. That's all I have for you.
Thank you, Thomas. All right, moving along, finance report. I guess, although we've changed, Scott, can you do tonight?
Be glad to.
And,
Absolutely.
take care of that.
Oh, excuse me. Profit and loss for December, the water service sales were $99,093.15. Total income for the month of December was $136,071.03. Total expense for the month was $99,950.19, which left a net income of $36,120.84.
All the buckets looking okay?
Yeah, I
halfway through
checked
the
all the
year?
buckets, everything looks pretty good. We had a $28,000 sewer expense, which is out of our hands, so we had to, sewer bill, excuse me, not expense. I should say.
May I interrupt? Speaking of which, right before Cliff left, about 6 months in, we began backwashing that filter almost daily. It went from we would register based off the back pressure differential, which normally you don't want to exceed 10 PSI. He said for every 10 hours, we need to backwash that filter, something to the degree of the filter medium has degraded to the point where we're kind of, we're giving it a crutch, if you will. I looked at our backwash for the last month and it was like 240,000 gallons. I mean, there's no way that, that's the best practice and also good for our pocketbook. I would also like to look into why he suggested that, why we're doing such, I don't want to call it unethical, but it just doesn't make sense to me as far as a practice. On why we're doing that, why we're spending that money. That doesn't make any sense to me.
And which one is it on?
Durham Lake, water treatment 5, well 9 and 10.
I encourage you to look at it and find out. Just because things have been done one way doesn't mean we continue to do them that way, so. I mean, it may come back and find out that we need to, but it's worth looking into. The funds that the district will be receiving from the state for the 117 project. Is there any action that we need to be taking at this moment? How does that move over here? What does that look like? Is it? Happy to look into that, but it's something that we need to.
Scott's got some paperwork that he's working on for the process. As the engineer, we turned it over to him. Cliff turned it over to him because of some of the questions that were asked were based off of what Scott had, the information that Scott had available to him. So Scott may can fill you in as to where he's at with that process.
Yeah.
That's $750,000.
Okay.
Are you ready for me?
Is there, I'll wait. Is there any questions or comments, finance report for Scott? All right, here none.
Thank you for the job you've done, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're starting out with the US 117 water main relocation project. All permits have been approved and accepted from the state, public water supply, erosion control, and all, so that project is ready to go as far as permits are concerned. We've received the first and approved the first waste submittal package from Ralph Hodge, which is the PVC pipe, the fittings and bends and all that, and they've placed their order for the PVC pipe the week before Christmas, but they're still about 10 weeks away from being able to receive that. They've got their order into either of 2 suppliers, so whoever is able to deliver first, they'll get it from that particular supplier. So we're at least 10 weeks away from being able to make physical progress on that in the field. The funding, the money you were talking about before comes from the American Rescue Plan Action Act. We have completed a document right before Christmas and sent it back up to the state. They should have it by now. We had to fill out about 10-15 page document about how much pipe, the cost, and so forth. And you're certainly welcome to see that. I've got a copy of it if anybody wants to see the breakdown of it. It's got the construction, the contingency, the engineering fees, the permit fees, and all that are projected out on the project, and where the overrun of the $750,000 will come from as well. Just the total. So you're welcome to see that. Anybody would like to see a scanned copy of that, I'd be glad to send it to you.
If you could just email it out, that'd be great.
Okay, I'm gonna send it down. Oh, okay,
Thank you.
I'll do that. Okay, we have preliminary easement documents in hand. We have a narrative and a plat. We've had a surveyor go out and do a physical survey, or excuse me, a type layout and meets and bounds for that easement, and Jack has done the narrative for it. So right now we're ready to review with the property owners in a second meeting to show them the the plat as long as, and the verbiage of that easement. So we have 4 easement areas. One of them that is the fire hydrant that's gonna be in front of the fairgrounds. They wanted us to move the fence back and move the fire hydrant back there at the entrance. So that's part of it. And another is right in front of the well where the 2 boards, where the boards crossing the road on each side of the road. We'll have a permanent easement in front of the well that's at fairgrounds, and then a construction easement, temporary easement on the other side where the barber shop is, the outlaw property there. So we're getting easements from both parties, and we have met with them in person. And then the last one is down by the American Legion. Will be born on that same side of the road as the fairgrounds, and we'll have to get an easement from them, about a 30 by 40-foot easement from them. And Gary has met with them. We have the documents to show them and move along with that, the easements. Do y'all have any questions, anything on this project there?
So everything's on schedule so far. I mean, obviously the delay because
Well,
of getting
yeah,
the
we're
materials, but other than that,
Yeah, we're not gonna start in mid-January, but I guess the biggest thing is trying to get it started and finished before the fair starts in September. So hopefully we'll get the pipe here sometime in February, but it's been pushing to get started by the 1st of March.
If we, speaking to the board, if it does look like it may push into fair time, I think one big issue was if this pipe were to bust and freeze, y'all worried about people sliding on the ice and it causing a wreck, but if it's March and it's starting to warm up, I definitely don't want to interfere with the fair traffic if it's bad enough without highway project going on.
If I may, I don't think we have freezing weather during the fairground, during the fair time, do we? No, October, November, so. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying I don't want the construction
Oh, absolutely.
equipment
Okay.
taking us, because if they, you said you have to knock out a lane of traffic at a time, right?
Well, they could move around and move stuff out of the way during the fair, or they could stop construction at some point. They won't have pressure on the line. That'll be right at the very end before they change over the pressure to the new line. So that part won't be the issue. I guess the issue is equipment going to be blocking traffic, so driving into the fair, that kind of thing, with dirt piles and things like that, open ditches. We certainly don't want that. And there's parts of the project you can work on that are away from the fairgrounds as well, if you need to.
And if I was going to the fair, I would want to know who decided to do a project during the fair.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I know sometimes things come up and you can work around events that are going on. If there's a 3 or 4 week of the fair, they could shut down for a month or something like that if they have to.
if I just want to convey that to them as early as we can.
Yeah,
and
we
just
certainly do. I
to
mean,
know the dates and
that's why I was hoping we could get started by February the 20th, because that would push us to the 210 days by September 16th, which is 2 weeks before the fair. It may be setting up, about that time. So yeah, so we keep an eye on that. I mean, things can certainly change.
How does the board feel if it's past that time period when it started?
I think we just have to, like Scott said, keep an eye on it and make sure they're aware of when they cannot be in the way and they cannot impede traffic during that time. That 2 to 3 weeks time.
You may have to extend the days of
The
work.
grace period.
Yeah.
So, we're still working on the Eddie Craig site. There's a few things that, like the tank steps, concrete pad, flapper valve, and things like that, a few touch-ups that have to be finished on that. So I did speak to Shannon Smith of King Plumbing. He was talking about those additional things that need to be done on that site. I know Thomas talked about Grand Oaks a minute ago. I did call them today to ask them about the bacteriological samples. And he said he had them and he did send them to me. When he said he sent them to y'all, I thought he emailed them to you. So I do have a copy of them at the office of the sample of the negative test. So I'll get those to you. I'll go ahead and email them to you. The utility contractor has finished, of course, installing all the pipe, done the pressure and the leakage test out there. There are 2 blow-offs that are unique to the Southern Wayne system that they're still waiting on back order to put on the end of the cul-de-sacs that are out there, the little 2-inch hydrants that are in off the end of the 2-inch lines. And then we have as-built at the end of the drawing. When they finish, we have to do an as-built drawings for your file. So we'll look at it later, we'll know where everything is, so that we have to pick up the valves and locate them off of the fire hydrants and things like that. It'd be nice to do an Esri on the valves where they are, so you can add them to the system.
Are they going to provide that, or is that something we need to plan to capture?
Well, they actually, on this 117 project, we're having them to, that's part of the project, but, this other, this one is a project where they should probably provide it, because it's an expense to Southern Wayne if they don't. So they're doing the development. It would normally be part of the developer's cost.
Right.
To provide that.
Can you talk to them and find out
I definitely will.
about getting those?
Yeah, we can
We just
definitely-
need latitude, longitude, we can take care of the rest.
And I've been collecting those as we went on valves and fire hydrants.
Okay.
Trying to be proactive.
Okay, and I'll show them on my drawing, my as-built fiscal drawing as well.
Okay.
For Southern Wayne. That's all I've got on the projects I had. You have any questions or comments on it?
Questions for Scott?
Just. Yeah, they're not going to tie back into Overman Road. The project stops before you get there. So, but we do plan to do a flow test at the very end, to make sure that we haven't lost, flow from the last hydrant or whatever, that kind of thing. So I've got the number for the Thurshire Fire Department to talk to the gentleman there, Brian. Is it Brian Jones?
Brandon Jones.
Brandon Jones, I'm sorry, Brandon. So I've got a note to call him to set that up. And that should be an expense to the owner, for the developer as well, not on Southern Wayne's cost.
Any questions for Scott? Thanks, Scott.
Yep.
All right, we'll move along to our legal report. Mr. Jack?
Yes, at the last meeting, you did take action to appoint Matthew McLeod to fill the vacancy on the board created by the resignation of Tony Baker. And on Tuesday, the following day, I contacted Carol Bowden at the county office to confirm the procedure that we needed to do to get on the agenda. And she went over that with me. I prepared a letter and emailed it to her that day. On the 5th or 6th of January, I believe it was, or her letter was dated the 5th. She emailed me a copy of the approval letter that was being sent to Matthew. And I then in turn emailed that to Matthew, and I prepared the oath and took it down that afternoon to the clerk's office. So all that was taken care of. The clerk's office called and told me that you had been down and taken the oath. So all that was taken care of. I had talked with Scott, had talked with me about the easements required on the Highway 117 project, and asked me to, he got me the information that was needed to prepare those easements. And so I worked on those. I did research at the courthouse to determine the title to the properties for each one of the, actually 3 property owners with 4 easements. There's one temporary construction easement, and then there is 2 that was on the Outlaw mobile home property. And then there's 2 permanent easements on the Wayne County Livestock Development's property, and 1 on the American Legion property. Those are the sites that can move in. So I checked the records on all those. Everything was good on it except on 1. There is an existing loan on the property. So I prepared the easement with the lender to join in signing it, just to release the lien against that easement, so that we got the title to it. So all that's been prepared, and I've gotten it to Scott, and I think he's going to talk with the property owners and show them the plats, and if they're okay with it, then should be okay.
You said that discussion's happened, Scott, or is it going to happen?
It's going to, I was waiting until after the meeting here to
Okay.
start talking back to them.
Okay.
The only other thing that I will mention at this point, as you know, when I sent the minutes and all out, I indicated to you my decision at this point to step back and down as legal counsel for the district. I think it's time probably for that. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those. I've got an original copy of the letter that I sent to you. I'll leave with the chairman for records. I just felt like that was best interest of me and my family at this point. So
Well, thank you for your service, Mr. Jack, and I know I don't understand probably the breadth of everything you've done since you've been here since the inception of the water district. I've obviously enjoyed the water of the district for over 30 years of my life. So I know you've had a hand in that. So thank you for your.
as I think I may have pointed out in my letter, it's been kind of exciting to me to watch this thing. We actually, I think the first meeting was in May of '73. That was the actual official meeting, but there was a whole lot of work that went on before that. As I think I mentioned, just some way I can remember at this day and time, you can go out and they can get you records of the property owners within, because of the improvements in the technology, they can get you that information. At the time we were forming the district, we got a description, and I spent hours in the tax office trying to pull together the names of all the property owners in that defined area, because what was required at the time was to present to the state a petition that had to be signed by at least 51% of the record property owners located within that district. And I had to certify as part of the petition that what was represented on the petition was at least 51%. So it was an interesting process, but this district was the lead district in getting this done. And as a result of successfully getting it done here, that led to the movement in the other areas of the county, which I've been fortunate enough to be involved with each one of them. So it's been kind of interesting. I mean, being a native of Wayne County anyway, it's been interesting to watch the development and progress that the water throughout the county has brought to the county. Because without that movement and without getting started with this, we would be way behind. It's been a real boon to the county, plus providing something that the people need. So it's been a real process, but an enjoyable one. And I certainly hope it continues. I think y'all have had some good leadership. I mean, starting with the people I remember on the first board, and some of those that worked behind the scenes that weren't on the first board, that were very prominent people within your community. And they really worked hard and diligently to get this done. And I congratulate them. That's all I have.
Any questions, Mr. Jack?
Thank you for your service, Mr. Jack. You've been an asset to the community and this board alike. Been a great deal for the success, and you should be proud of your work.
Okay. Within that side of business, it's old business. Does anyone have any old business to bring before the board tonight?
I've got some. Scott and I have been working with the fairgrounds for quite some time, with the Livestock Development Association, on remedying their sewer issue about their billing. The way the agreement with the Livestock Development Association is 2 members of their board and 2 members of our board will meet. And we've been working on this thing for quite some time, a couple of years. We didn't have a fair in 2020. So that put us behind a little further with what we were working on. Mr. Edwards knows all about what the WCLDA is, many times as he's written it. And we met with them recently since the fair and tried to come up with what's agreeable with them and us. And everybody's got a copy there in front of them. So the SWSD would charge Wayne County Livestock Development for water at agricultural rate, subject to the change if a rate increase is approved. The institutional rate is $12. Association agrees to drop the previous agreement that the fair office does not get charged for 15,000 gallons of water. No water usage would be charged to the association for 1 week prior to, during, and 1 week after the fair. No water usage will be charged to the association for 1 week during the junior livestock show and sale. Association will notify Southern Wayne Sanitary prior to events. This is part we've been working with them on, is for them to locate their water lines. They're trying to isolate the campground water lines, install a water meter. That meter reading would be used as a reference for billing of sewage in the campground area. Any other location on the fairground that has water entering the sewer system would have a water meter to measure the flow into the sewer system. Septic tank, several septic tanks are located and used around the fairgrounds. Those locations would not have a water meter and not charge for sewage. When a system is installed to meter the amount of water entering the sewer system at the different locations around the fairgrounds, the association would pay a sewer bill based on the total water meter readings at those combined locations. Previous billing agreement for sewage based on total water percentage would not be in effect. Association agrees to pay a sewer rate based on the minimum $30 bill for sewer manhole 1 and $30 for sewer manhole 2, even if no water is being metered going into the sewer system. That would be a minimum bill, just like every other customer.
Monthly.
Yep. Sewer meters 1 and 2 in the manholes have not worked and will be removed. Association agrees for Southern Wayne Sanitary to conduct an annual smoke test at their expense to ensure that all entry points into the sewer system are metered. And what we've been doing in the past was when the sewer meters didn't work, they're based the low flow during the rest of it. They work pretty good during the week of the fair. But the rest of the time they have such a low flow that the sewer meters don't pick up the flow and they hang up and cause sewage backups. And they don't cause any spills, but it causes a major problem. That's the reason we're taking the meters out of the manholes in 1 and 2. Because they use a tremendous amount of water during the week of the fair, for washing animals and washing the buildings and washing, floors and wetting the arena and that type of stuff. So this is the agreement that we've all agreed to. If this board will agree to it, they have a meeting tomorrow night. Their January meeting is tomorrow night. And they would like to have something from us so that they can move forward on their end, if their board approves.
For the 4th item there that says they will isolate the campgrounds and install water meter, is that at their expense?
Everything's at their expense. It's all on private property. And it'll also make it easier for billing.
Yeah, that's the
Dana-
major that's the major purpose. The low flow is hanging up. And Dana, have you ever been a part of the billing there? I mean, you almost have to have a formula to bill it. So we're just trying to be fair to them and trying to simplify the billing process altogether.
Because we do have a long-standing agreement that they had a well on that property when we started this water system. And we reached an agreement with them, from what I understand, is we reached an agreement with them years ago that we would use their well and put the filter plant all in on their property. And over the years, the well had to dig another well. So now we have another well on their property and a filter plant. And they charge us no rent. We didn't have to buy the land. It's been a working arrangement. I mean, we have pretty much a perpetual easement for all of our utilities out there. So, you know, they get some free water, but we're using something that of theirs as well. So it's been a good arrangement for almost 50 years. So, and I'd like to put it in form of a motion that we adopt this agreement between the Livestock Development Association and Southern Wayne Sanitary District.
There's a motion by Mr. Gary. Is there a second?
I mean, I've been working on this. I'll be glad to second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
When they get accepted, you know, they'll bring it back to you to update all of that agreement. If you'll still be available to do that, you know, I don't know what they'll do about a replacement, so, you know, or when somebody else will take that seat, but, you know, maybe in the near future, they can get this all worked out. You can draft that agreement for them, because you're very familiar with it. I mean, if we can move on pretty quick, maybe you can take care of this as one of the last items of your business.
So Mr. Gary, since you've spoken with them, we handle getting this to them for
I'll
tomorrow night.
I'll get it to Mark Hood, or Mark Hood's the president and Eddie Pitzer's the manager, and that's who we've been meeting with.
Thank you. The other old business.
I'll touch on some old business since it was brought up tonight. Mr. Thompson, at the last meeting, you got in a discussion with Gary about conflict of interest. So, and then Mr. Scott, when you came up tonight, you said it was a witch hunt. So for everyone who wasn't here at the last meeting, the reason it's a conflict of interest, and Mr. Edwards, you can help me out with this if you want. Governor Roy Cooper signed into law Thursday a bill, and this is back in December. Basically what it says is, if you're an elected official, you can't use your seat to get a discount, whether it be an ultimatum, what I was told you gave Nathan Lassiter, or if it was offered to, which would be the acceptance of a bribe. So when I say the next time you'll see that video, will be in court, this is what I'm referencing. Because the only reason you wouldn't be found guilty of it is it has to be in a water district of 15,000 people or more. But it was specifically spelled out by Governor Cooper for this reason.
And that was dated when, Mr. Gainey?
December 9th, 2021.
Anything that you accused me of has happened prior to that date. And I have not asked anybody for anything.
But you still get the discount on whether it was.
And it's offered to everybody on this
I'm still
board.
talking. Well, first of all, even if it's offered to us on the board, we can't accept it because that's a bribe, like I just said. So whether it's an ultimatum or bribe, it's still illegal. For you to continue to get gas because you were the chairman is still a felony. So when I say it's illegal, I'm referencing why. And for you to have your brother come in and say that this is.
Mr. Gainey,
is
I'm
not.
so tired of being accused of everything. Mr. Chairman, there's my letter of resignation. That's what Mr. Gainey's been wanting for 2 years since he's got here. Mr. Jack, I'm going out with you, sir. I feel just like you do. I've had all I can stand. No, I don't need to hear nothing else from you. I'm sick and tired of you. Just, you can smile. You've got what you want.
I wasn't smiling.
I could see the grin coming on your face there, buddy. And I'm so tired. I'm so tired. My health and my family's worth more to me than the conflict with you every time I come down. I'll still get this paperwork to the parties that need. Here, Scott, if you'll take care of this, because I'm no longer in an official capacity. I have resigned my position. If you'll take care of that, get the care of him or Mr. Gibson. Oh. There's the keys that I was given when I came down here. You're welcome to them as well. Thank you, Mr. Gary. Mr. Jack, I'll get with you and me and you'll go out and eat supper.
There's still so much that needs to be done and agreed upon and voted on. And this is what we're being reduced to right now. Look at that.
I will say for people in the community who came tonight that I do not plan to let up on it because this has been a fight ever since I got on the board, once I found out about it. And to you, Mr. Scott, it's not just this one thing. I mean, I could literally keep going, but there's no reason to. But if you'd like me to, I will.
Is there any other whole business that we need to discuss? I have one item, it's the hiring policy. So the draft hiring policy was created and discussed at prior meetings. And sent out to the board whenever I departed in November. I'd like us to reconsider this. We don't currently have a defined hiring policy of what that looks like. Standards such as, you advertise who's part of the hiring committee, who handles the hiring process, who's involved from the staff here of the district as well as board members. And what does that look like when you're creating a personnel requisition and you're posting the job, you're going through applications, what's desired of the staff or the potential applicants, how do you make job offers, what do reference checks look like, the standard hiring policy action. So this is the same version that was sent out in November. So I'd like to, again, provide this back to the board for consideration. Mr. Jack, since we don't have a full board, are we able to adopt anything or pass anything tonight? Or do we have to wait for a full board? Does it have to be a unanimous?
You've got 4 members.
So we can still vote on things. Okay.
If you had 3, you would still have a 4, so you could
Okay.
still have it.
Well, I just got a question there because last meeting there was 4 and they intentionally delayed it. Like there was, when I say intentionally, there was somebody gave a fact and purpose behind it. What's changed?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Let me get back to you on that. We'll check. We'll have to take a look at the video. There was something I can't recall in detail. But anyhow, I want to move forward. I mean, this isn't I'm not trying to be a disruptor or anything like that, but I was curious what had changed. Because I believe it was about June or July of 2018, the board promised me when I was here by myself that when I gained my credentials, I would be given the ORC position. Well, Mr. Scott informed me that it's a new board and those minutes stated this board doesn't have to accept that. So it kind of almost made it feel like I was like, well, why are we even doing this then? If it can be wiped away, brushed under the rug, whatever, what have you. So I'm just, that's the only reason I inquired.
I'm not sure, Thomas, but my understanding is if anything we vote on tonight, unless it's a majority of the board decides to undo it at a later date, then it's as accepted and factual as if everyone was here. I understand.
I would like to see us at least temporarily adopt some kind of hiring policy, because we've been trying to get one for months now. And the August meeting that everybody references that only select people who haven't seen. The whole issue that started that was the ORC was the only person who could hire anybody. And those people who, we weren't gonna advertise the positions for one. The ORC was the only person who hired, and whoever we hired had to live outside of the district. So I felt very strongly that we needed to preference someone who lived in the district, and Dana and Sherry. I'm so sorry. But once again, this is nothing against y'all. We love what y'all do. We appreciate everything you do. If you weren't here, we would try and hire someone. I would want someone who worked in the district. I'm not trying to get y'all out. I think y'all do a great job. And
And we wouldn't, I wouldn't, if there's no one in the district that wants the job that applies, that's fine. We'll go outside the district, fine. But anyway, there is, anytime, and I know in state government, there's preference, and anytime you look at a job posting, there's preference, but there's also what is acceptable for a job posting. And I think that's all that's just one small piece of what this hiring policy.
So that was one thing. The other thing is having more than one person hired. So in the past, it would have just been Cliff, but with what Cliff did to Miss Karen Mangum, that reflects on whoever hired him. I think we hired him. So I would like for more than one person to be in on that hiring policy, not just whoever this one person thinks is the best job. And what I'd like to see is we also get input from y'all, because if we hire someone and they're here for the next 35 years, I want y'all to feel comfortable with whoever we hire. I don't want it to just be somebody that right out of the gate, y'all don't get along with. So I would like to see y'all involved in it. But I would like to adopt something tonight, whether it be temporary, because as I said, we don't have anything. So if somebody were to come up with a lawsuit and say, hey, y'all never advertised and y'all never hired a minority, we can at least say, we were made aware of it, and from this meeting forward, we put something in place. So from here on, if somebody quits or is terminated or resigns or retires, we have a policy in place.
Mr. Kenny, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Or Mr. Chairperson, can I ask a question? Do you not have anything in place stating that you do not discriminate against the minority or race, stateful, or anything at all on your paper? Is that what you're saying?
Dana,
It's in the handbook,
It's in
as
the-
far as that goes. Have
It's
you
in the
read
handbook.
it?
Okay.
Just to answer your question, I've never seen, standard operating procedures. I've heard of them, but.
Well, being a community member, or living in this district community, my opinion is, as far as your hiring, as long as you're not discriminating, I don't care what color that person is, what sex they are. If they got the qualification living in our water district, fine. If they don't, hire wherever. It doesn't matter if they live in Mount Olive, if they live in Fremont, if they got the qualifications for the job, that's what you're looking. That's just my opinion. Don't narrow it down so tight that you cannot get out of it.
Right, and we're not making a preference to only people in the district, but if two candidates were the exact same, we want
Right.
to keep the district's money in the district.
Right, I understand that. Yes, I can agree with that. I understand that. Like I say, I was same term, you want to keep it in the district. But, and that's gonna get pretty tight if you got, say, this gentleman here applied for a job, he's got qualifications, and he lives in the Southern Wayne Sanitary District. He's got all the credentials you're looking for. You got somebody else in the other, over on the other side of town. If they equal out level to level, yes, by all means, get your man in the district. But if he's got a few points ahead of that one out of district, that should be the way you look. They can bring something better to your table.
Absolutely. That's where we want more than one person doing the interview, so it can be a discussion amongst the board and the staff instead of just one person.
And once again, I'm asking Shirley, in the nature of inquiring, isn't that just within itself discrimination?
That was gonna be my next question. Isn't that discrimination there?
What part?
If you got two people, one lives in the district, one don't, you surely go off of the person living within a certain boundary. Once again, would like to know the answer to this question. Is that not?
My understanding, and Mr. Jack can comment, but it's my understanding is if you put that in the job posting, that preference will be given to someone living in the district.
Okay.
Then it can be.
I mean, I'm all for it. I think
A
it's
part
great.
of the evaluation criteria. And it's not, and again, Echo and Thomas, we're not gonna go start seeking out people to replace people that are already here that are in the district. That's not what this is for. This is for the future.
It's mainly something like if somebody's on call, now, I mean, yourself, for instance, I mean, I don't know how long it takes you to get to work, but we'd rather somebody be to that call faster.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
I mean, what I'm saying is my opinion, so if y'all disagree, please feel free.
I am too, if my driveway blows out, the water line blows my drive out at 5 o'clock morning, because I got to figure out how to get my wife to work. Y'all don't know my wife. This gentleman sitting over here does, but maybe Matthew does. I got to live with her.
Yeah, but as far as the higher policy, I mean, please give us any input you want, public included, because, you know, it's kind of been in the dark. We haven't advertised in the past, and to me, you know, we're only getting people that we know or whoever's doing the hiring knows because we haven't advertised. So we're already at a narrow window to begin with.
Do you not have to publish like in the paper or the what do you call it? Indeed? Do what?
The website
No,
Indeed or?
No, it's like
Postings,
in
classifieds.
your classified local, do you not have to, if you're making decisions,
But this
don't you have
last
to,
position,
do you have to
I
publish
sent an
anything like that?
email in to advertise it with news artists, and then the day I sent it, the very next day, I was told to take it down
By who? By
by
who?
Cliff at the time.
See, and Cliff also sent a text message to Matt saying that it wouldn't be advertised.
Because
nothing-
I've got the email still where, because ever since I've been here, we've always advertised it. So that was it. I just wanted to speak up because that's the only time that hasn't been advertised that I know of.
Right.
And I
I know
know
in
we
the
were
past-
in a crunch to hire somebody because I was going out for surgery and everything. So I don't know that that was the case because we already had like 10 applicants already. We were just going to base it off of that. I don't know. I was just telling you what I was told at the time.
Yeah, like I said, you know, it's no reflection on the people that are here now. But, you know,
Yeah.
my ultimate goal for this board is to be transparent with the staff and the community, because we haven't been in the past. We haven't even been transparent with other board members. I mean, I still can't tell you why Gary was here by himself and now he's gone, so I can't ask him what he was doing. So the transparency is what I'm after. You know, and let's not just go with, I know this person, let's hire them.
Right.
But once again, it's, you know, I want y'all to feel free to speak your mind. You know, if you want to cuss me out, fine. You know, we're not gonna fire you over it. I mean, if you've got a good idea, bad idea, mine may be terrible. Let me know.
I would like to see it posted on North Carolina Rural Water Association, their website. I mean, they literally have a section. You type in NCRWAjobs.com or jobs and boom, all the reputable municipalities. That's where they go. They look for resumes and they're looking for applicants. I mean, it's an excellent item.
And in the meantime, if y'all can come up with maybe a checklist of things y'all want, if we can adopt something, just in case somebody were to come up tomorrow. But, and then at the next, meeting, we can add to it or take away from it, or however y'all see fit. And community also, if y'all have a preference, you know, I work for you. I want to know what you think.
Any other discussion regarding the hiring policy?
I guess this is kind of going along with it, but not necessarily exactly hiring policy, but do we have a basic application that you fill out
Yes, sir.
We should probably review it also.
And I would need to know that if we're, holding interviews, we need to have a basic set of interview questions that would be asked to each individual apply. I don't know if there's something of that sort already or not.
I had made something up, matter of fact, I, updated our application that we had on file, because it was old and
Right.
very outdated. But, yes, I have some of that on file.
That's probably something we
Like I
should,
say.
yeah, so take a look at maybe the next meeting, just to put our eyes on what it says.
You send that to us, to the board, at some point before the next meeting, that way we can review it.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Can we adopt this, knowing that it's temporary and it's gonna be modified? You know, have a problem with that? Or we can modify anything right here and now.
You can make a motion, and then there's a second, then we can discuss it.
I make a motion, we adopt this and we'll modify it as we see fit at the next meeting.
Motion by Thomas, second by Justin. Is there any further discussion to adopt this as an initial hiring policy? If there's additional changes needed, we can discuss those at a later date. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So, Dana, I'll send this out. I'll send this to you digitally, so you can file it and have a copy of it here in the office. So under old business, any other old business?
I don't know if this will be old business or not, but with Cliff being gone, and it may be something that we need to have a private meeting. I'm fine with being transparent with the public about it, but I'd like to speak with the staff. How do y'all see that we need to move forward? Do we need to hire someone else? My personal idea, and this is what I would like to speak with Thomas and Jonah about, take the money that we were paying Cliff and, obviously a pay bump. And, do we need a third person to throw in rotations on checking on weekends? Do we really need a third person? And if we do, so be it. If not, like I said, I want everybody to speak freely. Tell me what you think, but I also don't want to wait until the next meeting to address it. So if we could come by at like, what time do y'all get on? 4. So maybe we could come by at 3:30 or sometime around then and speak to all of y'all. If y'all can make yourselves available and see what you think. Does any day work better or worse?
Wednesday's not gonna be good this week.
I wouldn't-
And it's just because we're doing back tees, probably gonna try and bring up 6 on then, and just Wednesday's gonna be packed for me.
Okay, so maybe Thursday?
We can do it tomorrow, whenever, but Wednesday would be suboptimal.
Okay. And I'd rather do it while y'all are here. That way, I know you live further away, but that way we're not cutting into your family time.
Would you be able to make that, Scott?
I would.
I would. Are you able to call in or?
I can.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, and we can record it and give you a recording.
That's fine, either way, call in and record it, whatever.
Thursday.
I think it's Thursday will be fine. 3:30, so we're roughly saying.
Yeah, 3:30. I mean, to be sure, it won't take more than 30 minutes.
We'll give you all the time we need, but we need to identify, what's needed license wise as well, since we're in this grace period, what the gap is, we need to just discuss that as well. But we'll look into that. So we can discuss it at that time.
And not just as far as hiring, I know I just cut you off, but not just as far as hiring, but any other ideas that make this run smoother. Like for instance, one I had was, the minimum is 22 on the water tap if you don't use the water, is that right?
Correct.
So if we lowered it to $20, then you're not having to give someone change, if you still take in cash. And I think we can move money around to make up for the $2 versus how many people are paying the minimum.
Well, the minimum bill was $16.
Oh, is it
I thought you,
16?
I thought I misunderstood your question. I'm sorry.
Okay, I thought it was 22.
You want to rate?
No, because we're one of the lower rates, even compared to Fort Township. I think we're kind of competitive with them as far as the last time I checked.
Okay, I'm sorry, then. I thought it was 22.
No, it's-
Okay. But anything other than just hiring someone, if you know, if a higher chair makes things flow better, you know, whatever it may be.
Okay, so we'll be here at 3:30. I'm understanding, Mr. Jack, since we'll have a board there, we just can't discuss board related items or can't, obviously we
Yeah,
can't vote on things.
I was just getting ready to say, I was gonna put in the minutes that you're gonna have a meeting with the staff at such and such a time here at the, and so it is announced, since you're gonna have
Okay,
more than,
so it'll be a special
You'll have a quorum.
meeting.
you know.
Okay, we have to advertise that
We'll
anywhere
have to
else.
post it.
Post it on the
It's a
site.
48-hour
Yeah.
time.
Okay, can you handle posting that then?
That will just be taken from any question about it being a meeting that was not notice, was not given for it.
Okay,
As long as you, anytime you've got a quorum, and you're discussing any sanitary business, then that technically is a meeting.
okay.
What meetings are.
What justifies us having to have a lawyer at the meeting?
What constitutes having to have a lawyer present at the meeting?
That's just up to the board as to whether you feel the necessity of having somebody there to ask legal questions while you're not required.
I say we will, if we do, we can follow back up with you, Mr. Jack, after that meeting, if that's okay with you and the rest of the board, that's my opinion,
And that was Thursday,
at 3:30.
3:30.
Any other old business?
I guess this was all on the old business, kind of the same discussion, I guess. As a new member, I would like to kind of know, and Thomas, you may be able to answer this, is what licenses, qualifications we have to have as represented by the employees? And what do you, and I guess John is his name, correct?
John.
What do y'all have combined so we know where we stand as far as do we need other qualifications to get on board? Because we're now at roughly 10 days without Cliff. I don't know necessarily what he brought or didn't bring in that regard.
We're a B system, so you need at least a well and distribution license that equal B or better. Cliff had a well and a distribution. We need cross connection for all our sewers and cross connections and RPZs that are commercial. Cliff had that. You need, when we bring this reclaim water up at Ada Craig, we're going to need, it's physical, something chemical. I can't recall. I'm scheduled, I start that class the 18th of this month. I have B well, Jonah has B distribution. Cross connection. This is my opinion. It's kind of fact, but it's my opinion. Cross connection would be the easiest one to contract out. It's literally like a biannual inspection that would need to take place. A lot of people fluff that.
So you said that's cross section,
Cross connection,
connection.
as if anywhere lines cross and the dual checks that are the RPZs represent. If I hit that pretty closely, okay.
But just like Scott's everything
John
you.
Cox or Keith Plumbing, Jonathan.
Other company.
Keith Plumbing.
Yeah, Cox and Edwards, they do our testing of all RPZs and
So that could be contracted out, you said it's biannually?
there's like an inspection that's associated with it. But now that's where it gets a little fuzzy for me, but I know for a fact that would be the easiest one to go find somebody, say, hey, we'll give you prorate whatever for you letting us fall underneath the umbrella of your license. It would be the easiest, in my opinion. That's not something that you would have to have an operator who's dedicated 20 or full-time or even part-time.
So you said you got the B well
Correct.
and John has B distribution.
That is correct.
And John was working on collections this month.
He is scheduled to take C well next in February. He has, we both go to take a test.
Didn't he say he was gonna do something with elections in January? Was it start the class or take it?
Elections?
Tom said he's taking class in January.
Oh, you're taking.
But it's not
Was there
collections,
something,
it's-
collections, a collections license we need?
No, sir. It's cross connection.
Okay.
But, and since we've even delved this far into it, if it were up to me and I got to wrap the gavel on what was done, I'm 33, about to be 34, Jonah's in his early 40s. Why not hire somebody who's in their 20s? Then you've got the generational gap. You've covered your future long-term as well. I mean, I'd be very interested to see what our application or applicant pool is going to entail, because I've heard that some people say that they know people in the district that has these qualifications and are wanting to come work here. I would love to see who that is. There's just not people walking up and down the road with these qualifications. That's my 2 cents, and from what I've seen. I've been here, this upcoming May the 4th will make 6 years I've been here. I've been in the industry for almost 11 years. I don't think you're going to find somebody else that's going to be more experienced and more knowledgeable on our wells than I put my hands on. So, but that's
Very good point.
that's just, you know, not just.
Well, appreciate that information. That's where I kind of lack the knowledge of your side of it, what we need, how to go forward. So, appreciate it.
Maybe have us a checklist of what we have and what we need when we meet Thursday. An idea of kind of what
To
you
be
want.
clear, the only thing we kind of need to be looking at and taking care of is the cross connection for now.
Correct. Yeah, because I mean, there's still things with that Ada Craig plant that is unfinished, that even if we wanted to start it up tomorrow, we just couldn't.
Right.
Outside of the not having the server. So, yeah, that could be backburner as far as I'm concerned.
Remind us, Ada Craig timeline on that.
Or what, as far as its completion?
Yeah.
Let me get back to you on that, because I deal with King Plumbing, but if I had to guess, month and a half, but they got the handrails up, they brought the steps in, they were cut incorrectly, so they had to take them back. When they're coming, I haven't spoken with them since then. And then they, the epoxy that rendered that box watertight, they had to sandblast it off because it wasn't safe for water to be inside of it. It kind of ran into some issues from my limited knowledge on, that was kind of Cliff's, he was more hands-on with me or with that than I have been.
Yeah, that'll happen in about 2 weeks. They have to have cold weather, to take that epoxy. that off.
You're right here, and I can just refer to you.
And they're gonna take about 2 weeks off in about 2 weeks, but they need a cold day to take it off. They're going, so the corrosions. will come
But
back
even
off.
if it was ready tomorrow, we're not required to start using that at this time.
No, we're not
Still
under a timetable
continue.
to start using it, but yeah, we have a few more odds and ends things to do with the steps, the flat valve, and
Right.
a few other things, a little bit of grading and stuff to finish out there.
Other old business.
I think this will be our business, Thomas. I know Gary was here this week and he was in Cliff's office.
Correct, he was here Sunday as well. I don't know if he was in Cliff's office. Just going in there trying to make heads or tails of our files. We've got as-built drawings or whatever that has just been strewn about and scattered, and I was trying to make heads or tails of it. He comes in and the first thing he tells me is, don't you have an office? I was under the guise that is my office. The office next door was mine and Cliff's and Jonah's. I was, like I said, trying to render my workspace to where I could easily reference
Thank you for calling, Ms. Karen, Mr. Brooks.
the things that I needed on a day-to-day basis. And to be told things like that, it kind of left me wondering. I was like, okay, well, what am I doing wrong and why?
Well, I say this to be transparent with the public, because I did email the entire board and the staff to let them know that I actually emailed Gary specifically and said, if you had an issue and we need to call a special meeting, please let us know. But why are you in there? What are you looking for? And I never got a response. So do you have any idea what he was after?
Not a clue. He was also up here Sunday. I got through checking wells. I noticed a little after lunch, he pulled in. I thought he was gonna come talk to me. I kind of stood outside my car expecting him to wheel over, but he just woke up and came into the office.
So, it may have been before you got on, but I did express concern that we have at least a camera system here. Because I know I wouldn't want to be here by myself and be accused of anything. So I would rather there be a camera system. I know in the past, we had somebody throw a brick through the window. Were you here when that?
Next door, correct.
Okay, so we had somebody throw a brick through a window. We had somebody climb the tower at my house. We had a trailer stolen, and it was kind of written off as if it was no big deal, and it happened in-house because the gate was locked. The trailer was stolen, and then the gate was relocked. You know, and I don't think we have any documentation on that trailer anymore, but I do express to the board something that I expressed over a year ago. I feel like we need a camera system in place for such a thing. If nothing else, other than to see what goes on when we're not here. But like Scott, if we were to enter here on a Sunday, you know, I want to know why.
I was here last Sunday night about 9 o'clock, signing checks, because I had forgot it, got tied up yesterday, so absolutely, I have no problem.
And that's one of those things where if something happened, I myself wouldn't want to be accused of, well, we know Thomas was here at 8 o'clock because we saw his car, but all of a sudden, you know, this Be Well certificate is gone, you know, and that's just an example, but I would like to look into getting a camera system.
I reckon just saying that we want to pursue, you know, getting a quote or something on what camera system will cost us, we just kind of make a consensus on that. To say, let's get some information together, and you mind handling that, and we'll bring it to the next board meeting and kind of go from there.
Yeah, and staff, how do y'all feel about that?
That camera don't lie. I don't like that.
Yeah, and if a customer were to come up and be rude, I would really love it if they would record audio. If they
That's
were
my
to,
first
you know,
initial
harass you
reaction.
in any way, or even if somebody in the office were to harass you, I'd like to be able to hear the audio. And, you know, if you know what's in place, it's not
TURNAG.
is what I'm after. But I mean, and totally be honest, you know, if you feel like it's an invasion of privacy, whatever, like I said,
SWSD.
it's just me being transparent. I like for y'all to do the same.
Correct.
But we can, I guess, can we discuss that Thursday also?
Well, I know that, with the Simply Safe that we have, now, I don't know how extent you're talking about being with the cameras, but I know with the Simply Safe, it offers cameras, and we actually have one that we have plugged up, in the lobby.
Mhm.
So I mean, that may be something to look into, maybe a whole lot cheaper.
Okay. Do these sites, the wells, that they don't have internet connection?
That is correct.
Yeah, we can look at that, and I think we need to get as many options and quotes as possible to find out Simply Safe or something hardwired that goes to our hard drive. Are you willing to look into that?
I'll be honest
But
with
we
you.
need to.
I'm not pleased with these cookie cutter security systems.
That we have now.
They're nice for like Ring, for instance. They're nice because it kind of has you can refer to your phone and whatnot, but these, it's like the other morning, I set off the smoke alarm and they called me 5 times with, I mean, what I deemed a,
I mean, it was working.
yeah, but I mean, there's a window, in my opinion, of good and it's, I don't want to call it overkill because then it makes it seem appeasing, but it's not what I would deem put it this way. Okay, we don't have internet right now. All they serve in these plants is you walk in, it makes a loud noise.
It doesn't tell anybody out.
If it was professionally installed, authorities would be noted. It's just there's a lot of little cracks and chinks in the armor, in my opinion, when it comes to those.
Now, I don't know how the rest of the board feels. I don't feel like we can be overly secure. And, you know, we don't have any real security in place, in my opinion, right now.
I think it protects us if other people come on our property and they get injured or something happens, and we at least have documentation and record of what they were doing.
You want to start with the plants, is that what you want to do?
I would definitely like to work here first and, you know, implement it. Let's see what it costs. Let's see what our options are. But at plants, like when the 2 people climbed the tower at my house, you know, that fence that Gary put up, they just went right under the gate. I mean, there's a foot and a half. How big is that gap? It's big enough for a person to get under.
But
Now, I can't speak to that. I know that I was contacted and within 5 minutes I was on site. I recalled speaking with you. And this isn't in a matter of disbelief, but I would love to see the footage of that and love to see where, you know, the chink in the armor is, where they potentially access the property and what can be done to prevent that going forward.
Mm. And I still have those people's pictures on my phone, because they walk from the wind spread. But,
So they came in from the back then, that would make.
no,
more
they
sense.
came right through the gate.
Wow.
This
Walked
was
on their
back,
property, though.
yeah. But this was back when we didn't always shut the gate, or sometimes it got left open.
Wow.
But this time, this particular time, it was left open. But even if it hadn't been and they wanted to climb it, they can go right under. I at least want to make an effort to slow them down, if not stop.
I agree. I'm all for it.
So back for the cameras, I think, you know, your point, Scott, I'd like to see if whoever, for all the quotes that we get, we have that breakdown, so we can see it's gonna cost this at the office. Maybe a little more simple to implement here versus the plants. I'd like it to be that, to that level.
So you want to be tailored per site.
Right. I have no idea what that's gonna cost, and maybe something we decide that
Plan for or something.
we wanna do in phases or what have you.
That almost sounds like, and I'm just using it for an example because I know him, but you know, I know Jimmy Hood, I mean, he has a bit of communications business, that's what he does.
That's what it is.
You know, if we're gonna start doing something like that, I feel like more than likely you're gonna need somebody like that to be able to handle it. I don't just, you know what I mean, come up with it at plants and getting the data back to the office or whatever that may look like, hard, you know, you've got to have some sort of memory.
Right.
On that, and then whoever does install it, implements it and supports it, I want there to be a name behind that.
For sure.
I mean, like I said, that's another problem that I have with Simply Safe. If something does happen, and nobody's insured on that. Nobody's going to back you and come in and say, okay, well, here's where it failed. Here's what we're going to improve. Here's what we're going to do to compensate you for it. I mean, like I said, I call it a cookie cutter program because they roll it out to you and they let you install it. I don't do security and alarms. I mean, I don't think anybody does in here. If they do, please speak now, but
Yeah, definitely the public, if y'all know someone who does it, you know, I'm gonna find everybody I can, but I think what Thomas is saying, we don't want something else to pick up at Sam's Club.
I think we need that in the form of a motion to get the quotes. Is that right, Mr. Jack, or not?
Yeah, of course, you're not taking action to approve it, so you need to do it by consensus or.
Okay, all right.
But for
basically exploring.
Yeah, okay.
For the minutes, you're just talking about the office at this point, then to consider whether to do it at the plants, is that?
They're gonna get, I think the consensus was to at least get, pricing and details on what we take to do it everywhere, but have it broken out so we can do it,
everywhere. Okay.
so we can do it in phases if need be.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
did I understand Justin mentioned Jimmy in regards to the security?
I just said for an example, I know he does that kind of
Who was
work.
that, Jimmy who?
Jimmy Hood,
Oh, yeah, okay, well, that was what I was gonna suggest to him, you may want to check.
yeah,
He is very good.
I know Mr. Jimmy. Does anybody know anybody else? that does it?
I don't
I would like to re-explore Carolina Farm and Alarm.
Yeah, we used to have them at Sand Hill.
They, I think Cliff really severed any good ties that we have with them.
No doubt.
We can check with them, reach out. If anyone thinks of anyone else and like to forward that to us, then
I can get the one who does our office at Cox Edwards, because we have videos and stuff, stuff in the backyard.
I think, Spectrum offers something.
is it the consensus of the board to have Thomas look into getting quotes for that? Okay.
Alan Grady's got to do it, 'cause they got my son on camera. Alan Grady's got to go. $950. That's terrible. His BB gun's pretty powerful.
This kid's got no parents.
No, man.
There you go, this camera don't lie.
Nah. He called, I was ready to
vote everybody out of the church immediately, and, it was my son.
Does anybody know, anybody at Island Green where we could ask them?
I'm walking over, I got a good relationship with him.
Yeah, you know, pretty good, huh?
Any other old business?
There was talk of a longevity, bonus. If you're here for 5 years. I know that Dana has received hers and I have not, and I'm curious why.
At the last meeting, I'm the one who said to hold your check.
I got 2 questions for that then. A, how can,
Oh, never mind, that was not me. Take that back.
Oh, what Christmas bonus, I think.
Oh, I don't know anything about it.
no, at the last meeting, yeah, you requested that it be withheld from me.
But that was not longevity on.
I didn't think so, but I could be wrong.
If you've been here for 5
Yeah.
years, it's X amount of money.
It was, like,
It was,
Well,
it
this
was
is like-
longevity bonus.
There was 2 checks,
2 together.
okay.
longevity and Christmas.
My question is, how can you withhold something from somebody that they have already been awarded?
It was, mainly the timing.
I hate that she left. I really wanted to apologize and speak to the matter. But I mean, that leaves a bad taste in my mouth because that's literally withholding someone's money.
Understandable, and that's like.
And
I said,
I, in the same breath, I see where you came from, but it's still, like I said, I kind of, how can you withhold something from somebody that they have contractually already filled?
You already hit your 5 years.
Absolutely. Like I said, this upcoming May will be 6.
Okay,
And you have not received that, right?
That is correct.
Is it consensus of the board released that check? It's already been written.
yes.
Excellent. I appreciate that.
Other old business.
Give me 1 second. I think a lot of these issues I've had work themselves out.
All right, we'll move on to the next item, new business. I have a couple items. One is, I'd like for us to add the prayer and the pledge to the beginning of all of our, meetings. It's not currently on our agenda. We don't currently do it. I think it's, I personally think it's important. They do it at the commissioners meeting. And, I'd like to see us add that as a way to start out our, board meeting.
I agree, I'll make the
You
motion.
did that in motion?
I will say, so this is something I brought up, I think it was either the first or second meeting, because I had gone to the fire departments whenever I was campaigning originally. And Gary said that there was a separation between church and state, because I also wanted that.
Yeah.
Mr. Jack, can you speak to, we never confirmed whether that was a thing, and I also attended the commissioners meeting, and in big letters, it says, "In God we trust," they open with prayer and pledge. I mean, is there anything to that?
I think with our current board, I mean, if there's not an issue with it, and there's consensus, we can do that.
In our area, some boards do it and some don't. And a lot do. If you get down to the technical rulings, it's, if you were taking court on it, it's any guess about whether you could or, would or not. I can remember back on the days when I was working with the school board, we had some letters from time to time from ACLU and some other people, raising questions about why that was being done, and they understood that they had complaints from somebody in the area that this was being done and that type of thing, so,
But as the chair,
I'm not
I'll,
gonna tell you not to do it, but I just do it knowing that,
as the chair, I'll stand by. I'd like to see us do it and implement it.
because like I said, you would not be the only one in the county that's doing it. I mean, the commissioners,
When I was on the board at Southeastern, we did it. We started with prayer.
right, most of the sanitary districts, all the sanitary districts do it.
I think that should be to the board irregardless. I mean, if a person's here and they don't want you to have prayer, they have some, they can step out.
That's a good
They
point.
don't have to be in here. If they don't want to say the pledge, step out. If you're from another country and don't respect this country, leave.
Do we need to make a motion for that, or is it consensus?
Well, I mean, one of the things you may want to, I mean, you can do that, I think, by consensus at this point, but you may at some point want to look at doing a policy with regard to your operation, how you conduct your meeting and that type of thing. That has not, with most of the sanitary districts, that's not been as big an issue because there just hasn't been a lot of issue in conducting the meetings, and that's been true here too. But I would say if the trend now is to start having more people come to the meetings and that kind of thing, then it would assist the chairman, not just relying on parliamentary procedure, but to have rules adopted by the board with regard to the conduct of the meeting. And one of those things would be to have a time that you can have the agenda and have a public comment section. But the rules for the public comment section, you can set that out. And I think just my observation with things, particularly in more recent times, that's probably not a bad idea.
We kept a copy,
Just
or
as a
kept a copy of that policy. They hand you a copy for public comment at the commissioners meeting. A few pages long, but I'll take that, I'll look into that if it's okay with the board.
They do that, or they used to do that at the school board. Of course, I haven't been involved for several years now with that, but they had someone, there was I think it's probably the way to do it at commissioners. You have a place you can sign up. And and they limited the time.
Right, 3 minutes.
And I almost believe on their application that you indicated what subject you wanted to address the board about or something about it. Well, which, can or cannot be on there. But the other thing too is that I know that was true with the school board, and I'm fairly certain it's true with the commissioners, if I remember correctly too, but that was not meant to be an interplay of discussion between those addressing the board and the board. If that person brought something up that the board felt like they needed to consider, then they would decide that later and discuss it. But it was not, because if you get into that, then you're going to, you can have meetings that are going to last for hours. You need to conduct your business and not be interrupted, all through your meeting with questions coming from the public. And I don't mean that wrong. I just mean that in the proper conducting of your business, you need to be moving on your agenda and addressing the questions that you as board members have.
Okay. I'll look into that policy and we can review that for the board. We have consensus on the board starting in February to start with prayer and pledge.
Absolutely.
Okay. Who's maintaining the current agenda? Is that Dana or?
No.
Okay, can you add that to our agenda, please? And along the same lines of the agenda, I'd like for us to finalize the agenda and post that on the website on the Friday before our meeting, so the public can see what's on the agenda if there's anything special. And so it's also there for the board.
You want to assign a cutoff time?
Noon,
They still have time to prepare it.
right? Was noon okay?
Yeah, you gotta have cutoff sometime.
That gives you enough time?
Yes.
So we're saying cut off at noon and she'll have it posted by end of the day.
Right,
That
before
was
she
right.
leaves.
Because you can't keep adding.
Right, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
We probably need to put that on the website too, that if anything needs to be added, specifically say that at 12 o'clock, it's cut off period.
Right. I would say that, so the last meeting with Miss Karen and what happened, Miss Karen was the only person on the agenda, but I think a lot of what the community had to say was very worthwhile hearing, as it would not have been if we had to wait for another meeting to hear it. And I don't know how we need to word that in the agenda.
I think that's what Mr. Jack was saying, is that policy that you establish a public comment period. So even though they're not on the agenda, there is a period where you can open it up to the public. Does anyone like to speak? They can come up to the podium and speak, and there is a list of, there's a policy that governs that time and how long they have to speak.
With the commissioners, they don't have to respond or acknowledge anything you're saying. That's the.
I think
only thing.
I think we start with their policy and look at it and see how we may need to change it for how we operate, if there's anything we desire to do differently. Okay. I guess that's consensus to do that. Sorry, was that?
You can kind of take that on.
Yeah, I'll take that on, the policy side of things.
All right.
While there's a lull, I'd like to make it known that ever since Gary left, Clifford has been texting me, berating me, threatening me. I'm assuming that Gary, once he left here, got on the phone with Cliff.
Do we have his phone? Do we have Cliff's phone?
Yes.
We do. When was it returned?
It's sometime last week.
But it's been my understanding that there was talk that Gary was going to try and get him reinstated. And I'm assuming that's what happened. Once again, it's an assumption, but I don't really like being threatened on my phone. And I'd like for us to consider what may need to take place in that matter. I can block him, but this is twice now he's threatened me since he's left here, so.
I say, we need to talk about that in executive session and have a little more open discussion about that, identify what may need to be done. Since it's a personnel item.
We're still in new news. Or new news.
Yes.
Speaking on that, I think we definitely need to have all the locks changed.
Oh, absolutely. And security codes changed, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's.
Something else we need to do too, and excuse me from speaking with passion, but yes, I want them all uniform too. I'm tired of going to Wells and, oh, well, it's this key, and then you go to another one, 4 or 5 different keys. That's just, it's asinine.
Well, that's a good,
So you want to key
efficiency
a lot,
thing.
that's
Sir?
key a lot.
That, or if I want all my wells the same, or our wells one way, and the water treatment plants themselves, so that way when I can already have the key in hand as I'm walking up to it. It's not, oh, is this the SC1, or is this the one like all the other wells? Is this that one that's just the oddball?
Would there be any reason to key them different? I mean,
I think I
They
can,
were all keyed the same.
well, like our locks that are on our gates, they're one key. The water treatment plants themselves are one key, and then our wells are just a mixed bag of hammers. Like it's almost like there was no.
I'd
real
say,
rhyme or
yeah, the
reason.
gates will probably have to stay separate. I'm guessing it's a different kind of lock, but at least the treatment plants and the wells could be the same key, I'm assuming. But the lock company can tell us, or at least that all the wells are the same, all the treatment plants are the same. Then the office has its own keys as well.
As long as there's some kind of rhyme or reason and thought behind it before we step forward with it, yes, I'm all for that, because it's
Dan, have
cumbersome.
you ever gone through a key change here? I guess not.
While we're on the subject of keys, trying to make heads or tails of that, I shut that, the filing cabinet, I keep pointing there because it's on the other side of that wall, but I shut that. I apologize. I shut that filing cabinet and I did not know that it was locked. So now we can't even get to it. She doesn't have a key.
It's an old filing
Yeah.
cabinet. If anybody would have a key, it would be Chet.
May I ask something? Is it, what brand is it? Is it a Han HOV?
Sir, there is no markings on it. I can show
If
you.
it was a Han, I can get you a key for it, the numbers on it.
Would
but
you
if
know by looking at what style it is, if it is or not?
It'll have it on.
It'll have it on.
It'll have HOV on it.
This-
A lot of them have HOV on the lock.
I can call my locksmith, give him the number, and he'll make the keys.
See if any of the keys work. They don't look like, I don't know.
Can I go look at it, Tom?
As long as the
He's
board
got
doesn't.
HOV in it.
It's usually right there on the lock.
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
side of the cabinet. on the other.
Right there on it. There'll be a number on it.
we have a quote unquote locksmith that we typically use, or.
Yeah, so I was asking. if we-
I never get through
It's been random since I've been.
one don't stand out, I'm sorry.
I mean, I can go back and look at the bills and see who we've had last, but it's been random, different people.
Could you call maybe 2 or 3 in town and find out what they would charge to do a full key replacement?
Mhm.
And I guess in the, you can go ahead and change the passcode on the alarm,
Okay.
if you will, if that's the consensus of the board.
With the changes we've been through, we need to definitely do that.
It is.
I don't know.
Sound like you said it was on.
You wanna look at it, or are you familiar with, you wanna look at it as well?
Yeah, I'll
Go for it. No.
Try not to. I'm good at tearing this one.
I've never been in that room. I've actually never been in that room in that court. Showing the phone. Because you can't pay. Is there a, I mean, Dana, I feel like you can just, whatever it costs, I'd rather have it, I'll pay extra to have it done tomorrow versus waiting.
Okay.
Well, just reach out to us and we can, I think we decide Thursday.
You know what?
If you get information tomorrow, email the board and we can just, but I think. I mean, that's not a motion that has to be passed, Mr. Jack, is it? I mean, we agreed it needs to be done. If she gets it back and we say via email, go for it. She can do it.
It's an old one. It's an old one. But if you get a locksmith, they can take care of it while it's here.
Okay, well, if you'll mention that to them, they can look at it when they come.
Okay.
If there's anything you need from us.
Is any of that where like a gun safe would be better than a filing? I mean, is any of that information that
We
important?
would need to check the fire rating on it. The only thing I can think of.
Is it a fire cabinet?
Most of those in there are.
Yeah, but that one, this gentleman said it's ancient. Who knows?
It's an old one.
Yeah, that's why I said that one looked like it came.
Are those notorious for being fire rated in any way?
No, not most of them.
Figured not.
It's unlocked though, you just can't lock it. Is that right?
No, it is, it won't, if you shut the door completely, she locked.
So it's locked and we can't get in.
The bottom two are locked, the top is not.
Well,
Now, I don't know if it was any good, but I showed Thomas on the side of the handle you pull out, there's 2 Phillips screws recessed in there. You may can loosen that and jiggle it around a little bit, to get it open if you need to. And it may loosen and something fall in there. I would, just like they mentioned a while ago, contact the locksmith, they can probably pick it up.
They can get in it. I
Well,
promise.
either one or two things need to happen either way. Either we need to get it unlocked and get a key to it, or think about replacing it.
okay.
So,
What are you keeping in that one, Thomas?
sir, that's all our as-built drawings. Chet would have a fit if he known that was locked right now. We couldn't get to it.
You have Chet's information.
Correct.
Check with him and see if he has a key.
I will, but if
Keyboard.
if I was Chet in that position, I would decline to give any information regarding that. If he wanted to retain that key, and if I know Chet anyway, shape or form,
Well, find out what the locksmith
I'll
can
see.
get in it.
he may have one, and he may be gracious enough to allow us to do that. I'll explore that, so.
If not, then the locksmith can open it. If they can't give us a key, then we'll look into it.
Okay. Well, for the most part, between Esri and our valve bit that we've got, it's been very unnecessary for me to even need those, because like I said, I've got an electronic version of it for the most part, but like I said, I was trying to make heads or tails of my workspace and make it so it wasn't a go pin.
All right. Other new business?
I don't, since I'm finance officer, does that mean I'm getting paid the 300 instead of the 250? I'd rather be paid what I was originally being paid. I don't want extra money for doing that.
And I'll be the same for the chair. I don't know.
Take the extra money and donate it to charity. I'll ride behind you and you throw it out the window.
No, isn't that- I might be speaking wrong, but, isn't that because the signing of the checks having to come up here every week?
Well, I think it's that way throughout the community or county administrators. And the chair and the finance officer.
I think that's true at four. I don't believe it's true at,
Wait,
But-
It's all the same.
they also have at Wayne, I mean, yeah, Wayne Water Districts, if I'm remembering correctly. The manager was the assistant finance officer. So he could sign the checks when a board member wasn't.
and that was at Fort,
So that was done,
is that what Fort?
no, that was Wayne
Oh,
Water.
sorry.
Is it illegal for me to be paid less?
It's legal for you to be paid less.
Yeah, I mean, is there any reason, I mean, I understand signing checks and gas and everything, but none of that matters to me. I mean, I would do this for free.
I mean, I think you can go on record that you don't want to accept the additional.
Okay, I don't want to accept.
charge
Any
or
additional
pay,
money.
and, I don't think there's anything illegal about your not taking.
Okay, yeah, I don't want to accept any additional money for this time.
And I do not want to accept any additional money for the title either.
I'll take theirs. Along with that, yeah.
Would you say the district $1,200?
Any additional new business?
Give me 1 second.
This is just a question. We don't have to go into it. But we can. But does the board, or not the board, does the district have a social media, a Facebook account that we manage?
Not a Facebook, no.
Okay. Do any of the other districts, Mr. Jack, maintain any type of social presence?
Like Facebook, not to my knowledge.
Okay. Well, if it's okay with the board, I'd like to look into, what that would look like. Not that we, as the board, should manage. I think it'll go back to the office staff, but just to post things or direct people to our, if there's job announcements, that's one place to put it. If there's bids, if there's auction items that we're auctioning off, things like that, but
Do you want that in addition to our website?
potentially, but
I don't think many people visit the website, so when we have surplus, I mean,
I think it'd be an art, like, take this issue right here at Crestwood on Thanksgiving Day. Our customers were posting on Facebook on why the purple water was, purple monster was running loose. Be an excellent avenue to, hey, guys, we're aware of the issue. Here's what we got going on. Expect a resolution by, it just, like I said, it makes us in tune with our people and look like we care.
I think there's a lot of people that are on there, and I'm not saying that we need to do it right now. I just want us to consider it, because there's already a lot on everybody's plate with our vacancies that we have. I just wanted to throw that out there for consideration, so people think about that.
that's good.
We'll see your reference.
Facebook, social media, yeah.
And Charlotte's.
Yeah.
Then if we get a MySpace, Facebook, check.
Little newer. All right, one more opportunity since Justin's back with us. Any other new business?
I've got, so Mr. Jack, when you sent your letter of resignation last night, I contacted Harry Lorello. That's who I've sought out for legal counsel on the water district in the past. And you may know, I think he's with Pikeville. Is that right?
I don't know.
It's either Pikeville or Fremont. If Fremont has one.
He didn't used to be, but he may be now.
Well, he's definitely with one of them, but he is very knowledgeable. He's been extremely helpful in the past. In fact, Matt met with him. We met with him together one time, and I've seen him multiple times. Extremely knowledgeable. I did speak with him to see if he would consider it, and he said he would consider it. I told him the rate we pay Mr. Jack, and that's the same rate Piper pays. So everything will be the same. The only thing was he doesn't take the minutes for the other water district, but he said he was fine with doing the minutes for us. And he can come and what will we need to do, if you're not gonna be here in February, what do we need to do to put him in place? I mean, obviously meet with him and hear him out, and do we need to seek out, does anybody know anybody else that does it, or do you, Mr. Jack?
I mean, as far as the February meeting, I'll do as you want me to do. If you want me to be present, he be present. And
Yeah,
I mean,
kinda
you
work
just
together.
tell me, and as I said in the letter, I'm going to assist you. I didn't, when we just leave you.
Right.
So,
Yeah, definitely would like to have some knowledge transfer between you and whomever it is, between now and then. And then like, I like that idea of you being here in February to be, to show them how
Make the
things are done.
transition smooth, absolutely.
You have a lot of knowledge that we don't want to lose too quickly.
And anybody else, if y'all know somebody who does this type of law, I know Harry Larillo, he's locals in Wayne County, but I don't,
Where's his office located, may I ask?
across from the post office.
Okay.
So I don't know if anybody else knows anybody, but you know, I'm not dead set on him, but that's who I need to ask. So if anybody, what should we try and find some other people also?
the only ones that I know of right now would be people who have worked with, you know, other boards in the district. And I can think of Darrell Brown was in the same office complex that I was in. He used to be with Everett Womble and that group, which represented the city. And I know he went to their meetings for some period of time.
Everyone, that's where Brian King works now.
Yes.
He won't do it.
Well, no, he doesn't work with them now. He's on his own now.
He's on his own now?
Yeah.
Okay.
He has his own, he's out in the office. He would be one, and then, of course, well, the Everett, you said the Lawrence, I wonder what Ron Lawrence is actually doing the work with the city now, and you said that he would not be interested, so.
I reached out to that office to see if anybody would be interested in it. They handle my closings, so that's the only reason I knew them. And then the doors office, they don't do anything like that.
I know they used to, but I didn't think they did, unless it's, I don't know whether Phil still represents Village of Water Creek or not, he may. But
Phil can't do it because of me, it'd be conflict of interest.
so that's about all I can think of, but I know about offhand, but
Chris Eddings, would Chris do something like Chris Eddings? Who took Ferris's place?
well, I mean, he might now, whether he has done anything in that area, or not, you know, as far as if you're asking somebody with experience, I don't know. He's a nice young fellow. And, I've worked with him some, but I don't know anything about whether he's ever. So he was with, I think he was with David Rouse before he went out on his own.
He's in Ferris Duncan's old office.
Yeah, when Ferris died, he took his office there.
If somebody else wants to try and find someone, I know both of them, so I don't want to be, I mean, I've reached out to Harry, but I don't want y'all to think that that's the end all be all. So if y'all have someone in mind,
Sorry, go ahead.
maybe we can talk about it Thursday and then try and set it up where we have a couple of people and they make their pitch or if we can't find anybody. But I would like somebody to be here at the February meeting, and Mr. Jack, if you can come and actually sit with them and answer any questions they have, that would be perfect in my opinion.
I agree. Now we have to do it.
Silly question, but I mean, we're adopting it as far as our hiring policy. Is this something that we would even entertain advertising and see if there's any suitable?
The only,
I know that's kind of, with a lawyer, they don't come to you, you normally go to them. I get that, but
how do we advertise it?
Probably Mr. Jack's knowledge and other people, I mean,
getting feelers.
Yeah. put it out there that we're looking and.
You know, I tell you, it's a little different than hiring an employee from the district, because you're more or less seeking, we're seeking Jack's legal advice. So it's a little different
I can see that.
than paying, or hiring an employee, I guess you'd say, you know.
That's why I felt like it was a silly question, but like I said.
No, that's not a silly question. It's just kind of, you know, like I said, like you said, it's, you're seeking legal advice. I mean, basically, we're paying him to be here for any legal questions that we may have, and make sure we don't cross any boundaries, which is a little different than
Seeking
hiring.
employment.
By all means, I'm not against
But-
exploring that.
But
option either.
that's not that we shouldn't say get quotes or.
Do your due diligence with.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, candidate. I'm with it.
I just want, I don't want it to.
They would need
take,
different
Dennis, I don't want to take 4 months to get another lawyer. and I'm
No,
sure
we
you don't
need,
either.
I was actually going to get ready to Brandon, but how do we want to proceed as far as?
Yeah.
Do we even need to potentially have a special call board meeting to, you know, if we get somebody in here for the regular, I don't know if it needs to be in a motion and acceptance and all that as far as before the meeting, or can we just do it after the meeting, you know?
I think we're covered if Mr. Jack comes.
Right, I agree with
Invite
that.
Somebody here.
Well, and that was, my guess, preface would he be here to, if he is, I think you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely need legal counsel, that's for sure.
How would we handle, bringing on the new legal counsel? Is that a motion that we have during the meeting?
Yeah.
If we want,
So
okay.
however you want.
So I'd say, Mr. Jack, if you will, if you'll just, if there's any, potential candidates that you know, if you can touch base and let us know, pass along that information, along with, Perry, and we can discuss that further and, try to have someone at the next meeting that we can.
Is that something we need some sort of a contract with them? Or maybe like we've got a standard contract, you know, this is what we're looking for. I mean, kind of like a hiring policy, but even though we're not actually hiring them like a regular employee.
It's a job description. It's-
Yeah, it's, I mean, normally with a situation like, kind of like with what, what's done with most of them. I don't know how that's done with the county, but I know with the board and all, it was usually on the retainer, which covers the attendance at the meetings and, you know, answering questions and doing all that kind of stuff. But then if you get out and doing additional things like, well, it's like your engineer, for instance, you pay him to come to the meetings and that kind of thing, but that doesn't cover engineering services for projects and that kind of thing. Same thing with your attorney. If you're paying them a retainer, that's to be available and on call, come to your meetings. But then if there's other work, title work and, you know, doing all those kinds of things, then that's normally usually at their normal charge for doing that type of thing. But whether you want a written contract or not is, I have been on with all the board districts. I serve at the pleasure of the board. So, you know, you don't have a contractual relationship that says you've got to keep me for X number of years or months or whatever. If you decide to make a change, or if I decide to make a change, we mutually, you know, part of that. And that's the way it's always been. And it's never been an issue. Like I said, I've been at it, may be 49 years here. So.
Do you want to go one more and get that 50?
No, that's, I guess that's at the top of my bucket list.
So really, we just, as a board and a community and staff, we kind of just need to look at what we want. And I guess all we really need is somebody to record minutes and provide legal counsel. So
I would say that if Harry is willing to do it for what we're already paying, you know, I would say that you kind of move forward at least. Give him a year, I mean.
But that's fine. I just don't want y'all to think that this is, you know, the end all be all. This is just someone I knew. So if y'all have
Well,
someone else.
somebody that sounds like he's been on the board. So I mean, that helps. I'm water board, so that helps. Have that knowledge.
But by all means, if somebody knows someone else.
Like you said, we're not tied to them. I mean, if we see it's not working out, if it's an issue, we'll go beg at Mr. Jack's doorstep for him to come back, but, we'll figure something out, but I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I would say, that, like I said, we're not losing, we're not paying more, I say you move forward with it. At least give this guy a try. I don't know him personally, but I mean, he's representing another board, in the water realm, so. And it doesn't sound like there's necessarily any like shores, hey, this guy would be good and come to do it out there. And I'm here from any place, so.
I said, let's give Mr., is that something we can vote on Thursday, even if you're not here, Mr. Jack, or do you need to be here for that?
Well, no, I don't have to be here for.
Okay, I just don't want you to come just for that, but
I don't know anybody, and if this guy's willing to do it, I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, I don't have I wouldn't even know who to go to do this. I mean,
what's up, y'all? I mean, if there's a motion to go ahead and move forward, that's fine. If not, we can wait.
I'd make a motion to go ahead and proceed with mine involved.
I don't want to make a motion or say because I directly have used him in the past. So.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a second.
so this motion on the floor is this to
Move
move forward and put him in the spot and go forward?
to have him beside Mr. Jack and them to coordinate over the next month and for them both to attend February.
And then we make a decision after that, or we go ahead and retain him?
Go ahead and retain him, and if we feel that we continue to need Mr. Jack and he's willing and able to continue to serve in some capacity, we can. If we need him to pass on more knowledge, I'm fine paying both of them to not lose that knowledge. 49 years isn't a small amount, so
Just
that's
so
my
we're clear,
opinion.
I didn't say like, this is definitely a thing.
Well, why
I
not
just-
leave yourself open for just
Yeah,
interpretation?
I'm saying, I just asked him to consider, I mean, he may say, I don't want to do it.
But we'll decide, and I'd say we decide in February, then we go ahead and have them connect. And
Because like I say, I don't know anybody that does what Mr. Jack does. I say we just get him out here. That's the start.
I like that approach. You want to modify your motion, Justin?
Well, yeah, have a motion to bring Harry out and begin the process of bringing him in if it were to work out with the agreements, everybody. I don't know as much as it has to be a motion, it's just a consensus of the board, because we're not really doing anything but agreeing to pursue it, but.
Yeah, if you're not actually hiring him,
Okay.
yeah, I guess you could do that. It'd be weird.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
Okay, I agree with that. So we'll do that, and we'll connect both of you, Mr. Jack, to talk and coordinate over the next month, and have him here in February as well, as yourself. Okay. You know, new business?
I don't think I have anything.
I believe we need to go into executive session, it sounds like, to have a motion, to go into executive session.
Make a motion, we go to the
I second.
So if members, not executive session, we will come back out of executive session. We have to close out the meeting, so if you want to wait around, you're welcome to do so. Thank you.
See y'all next month.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Chair.
Why don't you stick around? Yeah, we right now.
I think we need to talk about it.
You have to.
It's just,
We're doing this just for you, session or you, but.
I just wanted to make sure, like I said, I'm at your mercy. I like how Mr. Jack does, it makes y'all's pleasure. I should be outside.
You stop the recording down, I don't think we're allowed to record during the executive session. I believe.
I think it's gonna be more about you guys.
Yeah.
Good to see you, buddy. You safe.
All right. Thanks a lot.